Hidden love story: how one incredible black woman changed a billionaire's life in just 30 days. Lena woke before dawn, her feet barely touching the floor as she made her way to the kitchen. The smell of fresh coffee filled the air, mixing with the crisp bite of autumn that sneaked through the window. Every morning was a race against time, each second a reminder of her kids waiting for her. She was a whirlwind of energy, prepping breakfast for 8-year-old Mia and 5-year-old Lucas while planning her day at the diner. The diner was more than just a job, it was the heartbeat of their community and her lifeline. Smiling at the thought that she could provide, Lena tied her hair back in a ponytail, slipped on her apron, and stepped out. As she walked to the diner, the golden sun crested over the horizon, painting the sleepy Mississippi town in hues of orange and pink. The diner welcomed her like an old friend, the familiar sounds of hissing grills and sizzling bacon always filled her with warmth. Lena's customers adored her regulars who appreciated her genuine kindness on days when the world felt heavy. She exuded a lightness, her laughter ringing through the air, even as she balanced the weight of single motherhood and economic struggle. Then came Greg Mason, the powerful New York billionaire visiting for a retreat. He traded board meetings for biscuits in this small-town diner, seeking solace from the relentless pace of his life. Lena didn't know who he was at first, but as Greg watched her serve the patrons, something stirred inside him. He could see the way her eyes sparkled as she interacted with the customers, her laughter contagious, like a fresh breeze cutting through the suffocating air of his usual existence. "Do you always work this hard?" he asked one day as she poured him coffee. It wasn't just the question, it was the way she looked at him, piercing through the facade of wealth he often wore. Her reply was simple, filled with the essence of something profound. "Every day is a chance to get it right for my kids. Can't waste a moment." Greg's heart clenched at that simple truth. In her stories of resilience and sacrifice, he saw reflections of a life he once knew, the values of family and hard work that he had lost somewhere along the path to success. As her laughter filled his soul, it contrasted starkly against the polished lives of his corporate friends, who would have laughed at the idea of a relationship with someone like Lena. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue, but with that newfound connection came the judgment of his colleagues. They looked at Lena with disdain, dismissing her blue-collar upbringing with sneers and mockery. "Isn't it time you found someone a little more appropriate?" they say over overpriced cocktails. Greg felt the pressure mounting, the weight of a decision pressing against him like a vice. He could choose social expectations and a gilded cage, or he could leap into the unknown with Lena. As days turned into weeks, he found himself wrapped in her dreams. Yet, every moment was laced with uncertainty, every interaction tinged with the fear of what could happen if he let himself love her openly. Lena's laughter began to feel like fireworks in his chest, a bittersweet reminder of all he stood to lose. Just when it seemed their love was blooming, whispers of engagement began to fill the air around him, threatening to sever the delicate bond they had forged. The question loomed: would he have the courage to choose her when everything would change under the harsh glare of society's spotlight? As autumn leaves rustled in the breeze outside the diner, the clock began to tick, counting down the days until Greg would have to make the choice that could change everything. Could love really conquer all? The morning sun cast a warm glow over the diner as Lena slid into her usual rhythm, bustling between tables, a beacon of energy. The chatter of customers melded with the clanking of dishes, and for a moment, everything felt right. Yet, in the back of her mind, she could feel the weight of uncertainty growing heavier with each passing day. Greg. Just the thought of him sent her heart racing. In a small town where eyes were always watching, she couldn't help but wonder what others thought of their connection. He didn't belong here, in the simplicity of her world. And yet, he had chosen to enter it, like a breath of fresh air in her otherwise confined existence. But as the days turned into weeks, she perceived changes in his demeanor. Conversations shifted from light-hearted banter to deeper topics, layered with an underlying tension. "What's on your mind, Greg?" she asked one evening when he lingered at the counter long after the lunch rush. His brow furrowed, eyes filled with something unspoken, a mix of longing and fear. "I've been thinking about the future," he murmured, his voice barely above a whisper. "About where I fit in your world." Her heart skipped a beat. Lena leaned in closer, searching his face for answers. "You fit in just fine," she replied, though the knot in her stomach told her otherwise. The specter of his world loomed large, a shadow creeping into their sunlit moments, but what she didn't expect was for the news to reach her ears from the other side of the diner one fateful afternoon. "Did you hear? Greg's engaged." The gossip swirled, swirling like leaves on a windy day. The words hit Lena like a physical blow. "Engaged?" She couldn't breathe. How could this be? The laughter that once filled her heart now felt like cruel mockery. She had been foolish to hope for something real. Despite their connection, his commitments elsewhere felt insurmountable, like a chasm she couldn't cross. Later that day, as she washed the dishes, tears slipped down her cheeks. The sound of clinking plates became her orchestra of heartbreak. She had given so much of herself, her laughter, her dreams. Now, it felt like a cruel twist of fate. As evening approached, Lena stayed late to clean up, hoping to lose herself in the comforts of routine. Just when she thought solitude was her only companion, the door swung open. In walked Greg, his face painted with urgency, as if he'd run a marathon just to reach her. "Lena," he began, his voice thick with emotion. "Greg, please," she interrupted, the words spilling out like an emotional flood. "I don't want to hear about your engagement." She turned, wiping her hands on a cloth, refusing to meet his gaze, but Greg stepped closer, his breath warm against the backdrop of the diner's fading light. "No, it's not what you think. I'm not engaged." The words tumbled rapidly from his lips, their intensity pulling her in. "I can't stop thinking about you." The sincerity in his eyes made her pulse race, but confusion clouded her heart. "Then why didn't you tell me?" she asked, her voice shaky. "Because I was scared. Scared of what it would mean, scared of how it would look." The moment hung between them, weighted with unspoken words and longing. She could see the truth in his eyes, the genuine wish to be with her. But the fear lingered, fear of judgment, fear of losing everything. "Then why stay?" she challenged, battling against the rising wave of hope. "Why not choose the life you're meant for?" His response was a silence filled with all the things left unsaid. And in that charged atmosphere, they both realized their roads led to a powerful crossroads, a decision that could tear them apart or pull them together in wild defiance. As he took a step toward her, Lena's heart raced, a wild mixture of hope and doubt intertwining. Would Greg choose the unknown, risk it all for love? Outside, the wind howled, a storm stirring, mirroring the tempest inside her heart. She stood there, barely breathing, caught between fear and hope. What would they choose when the truth of their emotions hung heavy in the air? The storm outside rumbled ominously, as if it echoed the turmoil brewing inside Lena. The air in the diner felt thick with tension, each heartbeat reverberating through the silence between them. She wanted to reach out, to validate that flicker of hope igniting inside her, but the risks loomed larger than ever. Greg took another step forward, hesitating just for a moment, but the earnestness in his gaze was like a lifeline. "Lena, if you could see beyond the chaos, I'm not like them. Not like the people who expect me to follow a script. I don't want to just exist in their world." Her mouth felt dry. "But you could have everything," she whispered, trying not to think about the life he'd planned, or what it would mean for her. "A stable future, security," she added, the words tasting bitter on her tongue. "Is that what you want?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper, a tender challenge that caught her off guard. She paused, staring at the countertop as if it held all the answers. What did she want? Security? Or desire? They were two sides of a coin she hadn't wanted to flip yet. The truth is, he continued, I'd trade it all for moments like this with you. Lena's heart raced. It was a daring proclamation, one that tripped over her doubts and fears. What if he truly meant it? What if this wasn't just a moment of impulsive emotion? Suddenly, the diner door burst open with a gust of wind, startling them both. A couple of regulars shuffled inside, shaking raindrops off their jackets, laughing as they found warmth in the diner's atmosphere. But their joyful chatter ripped through the intensity of the moment, a reminder of the life outside their bubble. Don't you see? Lena said, taking a step back, needing space to breathe. You could lose all of that. You're talking about throwing everything away for something so uncertain. Uncertain? He echoed, his voice rising with urgency. You're the only certainty I've found in this mess. Staying here, living for expectations, it feels like a cage. But with you, there's a chance to be free. Each word struck Lena like a hammer on glass, both shattering and illuminating. A cage. She felt it too, a tightening around her heart, aching for something more. But was it a mirage or a real prospect? Before she could reply, Greg reached for her hand, pulling her back into the moment. I've never felt like this about anyone. It scares the hell out of me, but running away from it would scare me more. Tears pricked her eyes, a mix of frustration and yearning. She was teetering, caught in a balance between safety and passion. Yet she couldn't deny the magnetic pull he had over her. The couple at the counter turned to them, grinning, having sensed the charged atmosphere. You two should get a room. One laughed, and Lena felt her cheeks flush. It felt intrusive, a light-hearted comment slipping into their personal storm, but Greg didn't laugh. He held her gaze with fierce determination. I don't care who sees. I care about you. The world outside continued to swirl with rain and thunder, but inside, all she could focus on was Greg's gaze, blazing with sincerity. Should she surrender to love despite the chaos of uncertainties? With the breath caught in her lungs, Lena searched for strength in their connection. She had to say something, grapple with the meaning behind his words. But before she formed a response, the door burst open again, drawing their attention sharply away. The figure silhouetted at the entrance momentarily felt electric. Lena. We need to talk. Her heart dropped, recognizing the voice instantly. Sam, her best friend, who had always been a grounding force in her life, now stood there, his expression tense and urgent. Caught between Greg's hopeful gaze and the call of duty from Sam, Lena felt a fracture in her heart. She had a choice to make, but the storm inside her was about to intensify even more. What could Sam possibly want that would pull her away from this inflection point? Lena's stomach twisted as she saw Sam's desperation etched on his face. The hours of laughter and warmth that had wrapped her like a blanket with Greg now felt fleeting. What is going on? She called, her heart pounding louder than the raging storm outside. Lena, please. It's important, Sam insisted, stepping inside and shutting the door with a hasty shove, sending gusts of rainwater onto the diner floor. He wiped his brow, casting a glance around the bustling room before locking eyes with her. We need to talk about your mom. Lena felt the color drain from her face. My mom? The weight of the world pressed down on her chest. What about her? She collapsed at work, Sam said, the words heavy and dripping with concern. They found her on the floor. She's in the hospital now. Greg's grip on her hand tightened instinctively, grounding her in the chaos. Fear rose inside her like a tidal wave, crashing against the shores of her heart. Is she okay? I don't know, Sam replied, the sincerity in his eyes revealing his own worry. They say she'll be okay, but you need to come. Now. The laughter from the counter faded into a distant memory, replaced by the sharpness of impending reality. Lena felt as if the ground had slipped away from her feet. What was left unsaid between Greg and her suddenly felt trivial under the weight of her mother's health. "Lena," Greg said softly, concern reflecting back at her, "I'll go with you." "No," she shook her head, unsure how to let him in amidst the disarray. "You've got your life, your future. You don't need this." "Your mom is important," he replied, his voice firm yet gentle. "And so are you. I care about what you're going through." Lena turned back to Sam, who stood there, anxious, waiting for her to decide. Can you give me a second?" she asked Greg, needing to find clarity in the chaos that he nodded, his expression shifting between understanding and concern. As he stepped back, the distance felt like an ocean between them. She needed to decide what mattered most in this moment, an uncertain love or the family bond that had always anchored her. "Let us go," she finally said, looking at Sam. But just before they left, she glanced back at Greg, whose expression had formed a mask of resolute understanding. Her heart twisted again, a small part of her wanting to express what she truly felt, but lost in the chaos around her. As she followed Sam out into the storm, the rain poured down relentlessly, mirroring the confusion that swirled in her mind. She had to be there for her mom, yet she couldn't shake the flicker of hope Greg had ignited within her. Would she be able to return to that moment? Would he still be waiting? In the hospital waiting room, every minute felt like an eternity. Her heart drummed in her chest. What if this was a turning point, not only for her mom but for herself? Leaning against the cold wall, she took a deep breath, steeling herself. "Do you think she'll be okay?" she asked Sam, her voice trembling. "Of course," he replied, a comforting hand on her shoulder. "She is strong, just like you. We both know that." But as his words hung in the air, the uncertainty of her love for Greg lingered at the front of her mind. When would she find the right moment to confront those feelings? Then, just as the silence settled, her phone buzzed in her pocket. She fished it out, her heart racing. A message from Greg lit up the screen. "I'm here for you. Call me when you can." The warmth from those words gave her a flicker of strength, but also dread. Could she really navigate being there for her mom while trying to figure out this connection blossoming in the storm? As Lena steeled herself for the challenges ahead, she understood she was not only fighting for her mom but also for her own heart. Would she be able to balance both without losing herself? And as she stepped into the uncertainty of that moment, the pull towards Greg remained a silent promise in her heart, whispering questions louder than the rain outside. Would she allow herself to explore the love waiting for her on the other side of this storm? The hospital was a maze of stark white walls and muted conversations. The air smelled of antiseptic, and every beep of the machines felt like a reminder of the fragility of life. Lena sat, staring into the sterile distance, trying to breathe through the weight pressing against her chest. Sam paced beside her, the frustration etched into his brow. "Do you want to call Greg?" he asked, breaking the silence. "He's really worried about you." Lena shook her head. "I'm not ready. I can't think of him right now." Each thought of Greg felt like a candle flickering in the wind. One moment, it burned bright with possibility, the next, it extinguished under the overwhelming uncertainty surrounding her mom's health. Hours moved like sludge, the anxiety pooling deeper in her gut. She replayed Sam's words, trying to hold on to the hope they offered. "She is strong." Lena wished she felt that strength for herself. She wished she could blink and erase the doubts, the fears swirling around her mind. Suddenly, the heavy doors swung open, and a doctor stepped in, someone Lena didn't recognize but who radiated authority. Dressed in a stark blue scrubs, he scanned the waiting room before locking eyes with her. "Lena?" he called gently. Her heart leaped. "Yes?" She stood straight, feeling vulnerable yet hopeful. "We managed to stabilize your mom," he said, his voice even. "She's in recovery now. You can see her soon." Relief washed over her, and a sob caught in her throat. She blinked back tears, the sound of life returning to her world. Can I talk to her? Yes, just a few minutes, but I encourage you to keep it brief. She needs her rest. Lena nodded, her heart racing as she and Sam followed the doctor. As they walked through the halls, Lena felt both terrified and anxious. What would she say? What would she do when she saw her mother? They entered the room, and there lay her mom, pale but breathing, hooked up to machines that hummed quietly. Lena froze for a moment, the sight of her mother so fragile making tears prick at her eyes. Meanwhile, Sam moved to the side, giving her space. Mom? Lena whispered, taking a hesitant step forward, her mother's eyes fluttered open. When she spotted Lena, a small, weary smile broke through. Hey, sweetie, she croaked, her voice barely above a whisper. God, I was so scared, Lena admitted, her voice trembling. It's okay. I'm okay now. I'm just tired, her mother replied, reaching for Lena's hand. The warmth of her mom's grip felt like coming home. As they spoke softly, Lena felt the cracks in her heart begin to mend, if only a little. They shared easy anecdotes, memories that felt like sunlight peeking through dark clouds. But as the conversation flowed, Lena couldn't shake the looming weight of her own feelings. Mom, there's something I've been thinking. Suddenly, the door creaked open again. Lena turned to find Greg standing there, his expression a mix of concern and relief. Her heart raced not just from his presence, but from the collision of worlds she had been trying to keep separate. Lena, he breathed, taking her in. I'm so glad you're here. Greg, she stammered, caught off guard. Her mother perked up, attention shifting between them. Is everything okay? Greg asked, eyes darting toward the machines surrounding her mother. Lena nodded, but her mind reeled. Here was a moment that held so much weight. Perhaps the very thing she thought she had time to untangle was rushing toward her faster than she could comprehend. What would her mother think? What would it mean for her own heart? Can I stay? Greg's voice was steady, cutting through the tension. I want to be here for you. Lena hesitated, unsure if letting him in would complicate everything. The urgency of the situation pressed against her, but the quiet pull of her feelings for him remained strong, demanding to be acknowledged. Please, she said softly, piercing through her own fog. Would she have the courage to find clarity, not just for her mother but for her heart? And as the storm raged on outside, the true tempest within Lena grew, leaving her wondering if the love waiting on the other side was worth the risk of vulnerability. Lena glanced between her mother and Greg, uncertainty flooding her heart. The sterile room suddenly felt like a stage, with everyone staring at her, waiting for her to choose her next words. Her mom looked tired but curious, while Greg's gaze was steady and unyielding, offering both comfort and complication. Sure, Lena finally said, a soft voice breaking through her hesitation. You can stay. The relief flashed across Greg's face, a brief but warm smile that momentarily chased away the shadows. He moved closer, concern etched in every feature as he settled into the chair next to Lena, trying to remain casual yet attentive. How are you feeling, Mrs. Miller? He asked gently, addressing Lena's mom, who seemed to brighten at the sound of his voice. It was amazing how Greg had the ability to ease tension. I'm hanging in there, her mother replied, her voice still soft. These machines are a little daunting, but I'm alive. That's what matters. Lena's heart swelled. Her mother's strength seeped into her, giving her a sense of resolve she hadn't felt in hours. Mom, I'm here. We're all here, she assured, squeezing her mother's hand. And we believe in you, Greg chimed in, his voice low but firm, as if rallying a team in the face of adversity. You have all of us rooting for you. Lena watched her mom's eyes glisten with appreciation. It was a reminder that connections mattered. They filled the gaps where dread tried to creep in. Yet, as they shared smiles and easy conversations, a nagging feeling twisted inside Lena. She couldn't escape the looming question of where Greg fit into her life moving forward. Greg, Lena started, gently turning toward him, trying to gauge his intent. What are you doing here? He hesitated, eyes drifting as if he were weighing something heavy. I wanted to make sure you were okay. I know how much your mom means to you, he replied, sincerity in his voice. And I want to support you whatever that looks like. Thank you. That means a lot, she replied, heart racing as his words settled. But alongside gratitude, anxiety bubbled up. Did she want Greg in the circle of chaos? There was silence, punctuated only by the hum of machines. Her eyes wandered to her mother, who observed thoughtfully. Sitting there with her two biggest worlds colliding, Lena felt like she was watching a movie unfold. Would it be a romance or a dramatic twist? Mom, there's something I need to tell you. Lena's voice trailed off, nerves bubbling up again. Could she risk sharing her confusion about her feelings with Greg? She wanted her mother's wisdom, but she also wanted to shield her from the complications of her heart. Just say it, sweetheart, her mother urged gently, squeezing Lena's hand again as if urging her to find the strength to speak her truth. Lena looked at Greg. The warmth in his gaze sparked a flame of courage within her. What if this moment, this trifecta of vulnerability, could lead to something profound? What if love could grow amidst chaos? I'm not sure where I stand with Greg, Lena finally confessed, barely above a whisper. There's a part of me that's still scared and another part that thinks I should lean into this, whatever this is. She felt raw, laid bare before them. The exposure was terrifying, but freeing somehow. The room filled with a pause, then her mom smiled softly. Sweetheart, it's okay to feel lost. Life has a way of unearthing feelings we didn't know existed. It's how we grow. Greg nodded, quietly affirming her mother's sentiment. And I'm here. Whenever you're ready, he said, emphasizing his willingness to take things slow. As uncertainty hung in the air, Lena wondered if she was on the brink of a breakthrough or another hurdle. The concealment of her heart pressed heavier now, and she felt the choices stretch before her like an open road. If only she could find a map for this journey. But just then, the beeping of a monitor changed tone, sending a jolt through the room. Lena's heart sank. Was it time for another chapter to unfold? What would happen next? And more importantly, would she be ready to embrace it? The monitor beeped sharply, slicing through the tension. Lena's heart raced. In an instant, the room was filled with the sterile scent of antiseptic and the frantic sounds of footsteps as hospital staff rushed to their mother's side. Stay here. Lena heard Greg's voice, commanding yet soft, as she instinctively felt the urge to move. But she could barely breathe. Her words tangled in her throat. Her mom's eyes widened as nurses and doctors surrounded her, working quickly. Lena caught a glimpse of her mother, pale but calm, and for a fleeting moment, she felt time drop away. This was not how it was supposed to go. They had just started to bridge the gaps that had divided them for so long. Lena, focus. Greg's voice pulled her back. He had moved closer, one hand resting firmly on her back. She's going to be okay. Just wait. Lena nodded, trying to steady her breath, but the panic lurked just beneath the surface. She grasped her mother's hand tighter, as if she could anchor all of them through this chaos. Minutes felt like hours until one of the nurses turned to Lena, still rushing back and forth, and reassured, "We're just checking her vitals. It's normal procedure. Just breathe." But the reassurance fell flat in the heavy air. Lena's mind raced. Their earlier conversation lingered like a shadow. Did she really want to dive deeper into feelings of uncertainty when the foundation beneath her was shaking? Why did we even start this talk? Her voice wavered, the emotions spilling over. What if I mess everything up? What if I chose the wrong time? Hey, Greg said softly, his presence solid against her panicked thoughts. You can't control everything. What matters is now. You're here for her. Lean into that for now. His words wrapped around Lena like a warm blanket. She took a deep breath, willing herself to feel steady again. She couldn't let fear dictate her next move. She had to believe in the strength they were building. Together, Lena flicked her gaze back to her mother. The panic had dulled in the nurse's eyes, but her heart still raced. "Mom, I love you. You have to fight," she whispered, gripping her hand as if that alone could heal the rift of uncertainty. As if sensing her daughter's plea, her mom blinked slowly, her eyes glimmering with understanding. Lena felt something shift, a promise of resilience exchanged in that gaze. The commotion died down momentarily as a doctor stepped forward, his expression professional but kind. "Mrs. Miller is stable. We'll monitor her closely, but we need you to understand that it's a long road and she may feel tired." Relief washed over Lena in waves, pulsing with every heartbeat. "Can we see her?" she asked, desperation threading through her words. "Just for a moment," the doctor replied, gesturing with a nod. Lena's heart surged with gratitude and fear at once as they were led closer, the walls feeling like they were closing in. Her mother looked small and fragile among all the machines, but Lena could still see the fire in her eyes. As they approached, Lena felt Greg's hand brush against hers. It was an electric connection that sent a fresh batch of emotions rolling. She turned to him, finding a mixture of concern and warmth in his gaze. "Can we talk more later?" he whispered, his voice steady yet hopeful. Before Lena could answer, her mother's eyes flickered open, and she smiled weakly, breaking through the fog of tense hesitation. "I'm not going anywhere," she croaked, her voice brittle but determined. "I still have stories to tell." Tears sprang in Lena's eyes, the revelation that they would continue to face challenges together igniting a spark of hope inside her. "I'm ready to listen," she replied, her voice thick, but as Lena sat next to her mother, she knew the complexity of emotions tangled between her heart and Greg's remained unresolved. What next step would she take? And could she really embrace the chaos that love might bring while still trying to hold on to her family? The questions hung heavy, but Lena felt a sudden resolve. She didn't have all the answers yet, but the promise of courage lingered. Just within reach. And as she found her mother's hand in hers, something deep inside Lena whispered that perhaps the true journey was just beginning. What awaited them beyond this moment was still clouded in uncertainty, but a new chapter was ready to unfold. Would it lead to healing, or would there be even more unanswered questions? Lena's heart fluttered as she held her mother's hand, the world around her fading into a soft hum. The sterile scent of the hospital suddenly felt distant, overshadowed by the warmth radiating from her mom's fragile touch. Each heartbeat reminded her of the fleeting moments they shared, and all the stories waiting to be told. The doctor gave them a minute before stepping back, allowing a brief silence that felt almost sacred. Lena took in her mother's pale face, the way the light caught her eyes, the promise of stories hidden beneath the surface. "Mom," she began, her voice cracking, "do you remember the time we went to the beach and you built that insane sandcastle? You said it was the marble palace of dreams?" Her mom's lips curved into the faintest of smiles. "Of course. I think I remember saying it was protected by a giant seagull." Lena laughed gently at the memory, her worry slowly melting away. They recounted memories, each laugh weaving a new thread of connection, reminding Lena of the woman who had always been larger than life. Yet as she spoke, the reality of their fragile situation loomed in the back of her mind. "Mom, what if?" She hesitated, doubts churning inside. "What if we end up losing each other again? I don't think I can handle that." "You won't lose me," her mother replied, her voice barely above a whisper but filled with strength. "We'll face whatever comes next, together. Just like we always have." Greg stood nearby, leaning against the wall, a comforting presence that allowed Lena to feel both grounded and hopeful. She caught his gaze, and in that moment, she recognized the depth of their shared journey. After they settled into a comfortable silence, Lena turned to Greg. His expression was unreadable, but the softness in his eyes told her he understood the storm of emotions she was still navigating. "What's next for us?" she asked, her voice low. I mean, with everything I feel like we're both here for each other, but everything is still fresh," he interjected gently. "We need to sort through it slowly, step by step. Your mom's health is a priority, and your feelings deserve their own space too." Nodding, Lena felt a swell of gratitude. They had both dived into turbulent waters, and she wasn't sure where the currents would take them. Would they emerge together, or would separate paths diverge in the aftermath? The weight of uncertainty settled back onto her heart, heavier than before. She turned her attention back to her mother, who appeared to be drifting off. As she watched her mom's breaths calm, Lena felt a flicker of resolve reignite within her. The mother-daughter bond had always been intricate, and they had years of misunderstandings to untangle. But hearing her mother's gentle laugh brought back a nostalgic warmth. "Hey Mom," Lena whispered softly. "We still have our vacations to plan, and I need someone to teach me how to bake that chocolate cake from your recipe." Her mother's eyes fluttered open slightly. "Just like old times, huh? I'm looking forward to it." Lena's heart swelled with emotion, realizing that the healing they needed might just rest on the simple act of being together. The moment hung in the air like the sweet scent of cookies fresh from the oven, and Lena felt the first stirrings of happiness after days of fear. Yet as she glanced up at Greg, anticipation coursed through her veins. What would happen when the hospital doors opened and they stepped back out into the world? And in the silence of that room, Lena couldn't shake the feeling that more revelations lay ahead, unraveling not just with her mother, but with Greg too. What awaited them outside those boundary lines of fear and confusion? The next chapter of their lives was waiting to unfold, but would it heal the scars or create new ones? Lena's heart raced as the hospital room door creaked open, slicing through the stillness. The outside world, once muffled by the thick walls, seemed to swell with urgency. Bright lights and hurried footsteps created a symphony of life that felt both jarring and welcome. She shifted her gaze to her mother, whose chest gently rose and fell, each breath a reminder of their fragile grasp on time. "Mom," she whispered, squeezing her hand just a little tighter, "I'm right here." Her mother smiled, eyes still fluttering with the remnants of sleep, as if Lena's voice could pull her back fully to the present. "Lena, sweetie, it's getting brighter in here. I think the sun wants to join us." "I'd say it's trying to steal the show," she replied, chuckling softly. Their laughter danced through the air, a comforting melody against the backdrop of uncertainty. Greg stepped forward, adjusting his posture, his warmth enveloping Lena like a shield. "How about I grab us some coffee?" he offered. A simple act, but it felt monumental in that moment. "Yeah, that would be great. I'll be right here," Lena assured him, wanting to stay close to her mother. As Greg left, the room settled back into an intimate solitude. Lena turned to her mom, whose eyes were now fully open, sparkling with an undeniable light. "What else do you remember about that beach day?" she prompted, eager to keep the conversation alive. "Paddle boarding," her mother replied, her voice soft. "You were so scared at first, remember? I had to convince you that the water wouldn't swallow you whole." Lena grinned at the memory. "You made it sound like the water was just a giant puppy wanting to play." "Yes. And you finally trusted it enough to get on that board." "I was so proud," her mom said, her voice catching slightly. "You've always been braver than you think." The words wrapped around Lena like a warm blanket, soothing the sharp edges of her worries. "I'm trying to be brave again. It's hard without you, Mom," she confessed, feeling tears prick at her eyes. "Hey now," her mother murmured, "we're a team. Even when it's tough, we can tackle anything together." "Even," Lena hesitated, her heart heavy with unspoken fears, "even if things don't go back to normal?" Her mother's gaze deepened, communicating reassurance without the need for words. "Normal is what we make of it. Let us create new normal, together." Just then, Greg returned, coffee in hand, his face lighting up at the sight of them sharing a moment of peace. "I thought I'd bring enough for an entire coffee shop," he joked, placing the cups carefully on the small table beside the bed. "Thanks," Lena said, grateful for the way he slid into their world seamlessly. "Have you two been plotting world domination?" he asked, leaning casually against the wall. "Just a few plans for our next beach trip," her mom replied, winking at Lena. Lena felt the atmosphere shift, the heaviness hovering above them starting to lift, even if just a little. It felt oddly comforting, a small reprieve from the emotional tumult surrounding them. "Maybe I can learn to paddleboard too." "I'll have to channel Lena's brave spirit," Greg said lightly, his eyes sparkling with mischief. "Better watch out," Lena teased back. "I might send you into shark territory." They all laughed together, and in that moment, Lena realized how precious these interactions were. Even amid uncertainty, laughter could breach the walls of fear and anxiety. Yet as the light shifted through the window, Lena felt a wave of doubt wash over her again. There was still so much unspoken between her and Greg. Their connection held secrets ripe for discovery, but navigating those waters felt precarious. "Will we ever really understand each other, Greg?" she dared to ask, unsure if she wanted the answer. His demeanor changed slightly, the easy banter replaced with an earnestness that sent a thrill of anticipation through her. "Maybe we'll just have to dive deeper to find out," he answered, his tone serious yet warm. Lena's heart raced with a mix of excitement and fear. What would they uncover in those deep waters? The possibility hung in the air, thick with uncharted emotions, daring her to take the plunge. As they settled back into comfortable silence, Lena felt a sense of urgency, not just for her mother's health but for the relationship unfolding right before her. What would it mean if they dared to explore the depths of their feelings? The moment felt electric with potential, but a nagging question lingered. Were they ready to face the truths that lay beneath the surface? And as the sun dipped lower in the sky, casting shadows across the room, Lena felt the weight of the unknown pressing closer than ever. The storm outside had calmed, leaving the Mississippi air fresh and crisp, like a new beginning waiting just beyond the horizon. Inside the hospital room, warmth filled the space as Lena held her mother's hand, her heart steadied by the strength in their bond. Laughter from earlier still echoed in her ears, a melody of hope that grew stronger with each moment they shared. "Lena," her mother said softly, pulling her back to the present. "You need to follow your heart when it comes to Greg. Don't let fear keep you from what makes you happy." Lena blinked back tears, heartsick at the wisdom of her mom's words. But what if, she hesitated, uncertainty bubbling up again. What if I'm just chasing a dream that isn't real? Her mother smiled gently, the wrinkles around her eyes deepening, a map of years filled with laughter, struggles, and triumphs. "Dreams are what shape our realities. Don't be afraid of what could be. Open your heart, and maybe you'll find more than you ever expected." The weight of her mother's words hung in the air, resonating in the depths of Lena's heart. Greg leaned against the wall, observing quietly, his expression serious yet filled with understanding. Feeling emboldened by her mother's encouragement, Lena turned to Greg, who had been the spark igniting a fire in her soul. "Greg," she began, her voice trembling slightly. "Can we talk about us?" He stepped closer, eyes trained on her with unwavering focus. "Absolutely," he said, his tone both reassuring and sincere. "Mom, we'll be right back," she said, needing a moment to breathe in this new air of honesty. Greg nodded, and they moved just outside the room, the world around them feeling more vibrant, more alive with possibility. "What's on your mind?" Greg asked gently as they stood just beyond the sterile doors, the echo of hospital life vibrating softly behind them. It's hard for me to let go of the fear," Lena admitted, her heart racing as the wave of vulnerability crashed over her. "You come from this whole other world. I keep doubting if we fit, if this is real." He didn't hesitate. "Lena, what we have is real. I know it. I've never felt this way about anyone. You make me want to be better, to be braver. It's terrifying, but I'm ready to embrace it." The sincerity in his eyes ignited a flicker of hope within her. "You mean that?" she asked, her voice thick with emotion. "Absolutely," he replied, taking a step closer. "I'm not afraid of the storms either of your life or your past. I want to weather them with you." A light broke inside Lena then, illuminating the shadows of doubt she had been clutching onto so tightly. "So you really want to be here, not just now but when everything settles? When the uncertainties clear?" With a slight nod, Greg replied, "I want to explore everything that could be between us. I want to fight for this, for us." A smile broke on Lena's face, electric and pure. "I want that too." For the first time, the words felt free, unweighted by fear. They realized that the complex dance between their worlds didn't have to tear them apart, instead, it could weave their lives together. As they returned to her mother's room, the atmosphere felt different. Lena was no longer just a daughter bound by fear, she was a woman ready to embrace love and uncertainty alike. They settled back into the warmth, Lena's mother watching with soft eyes. "Everything okay, sweetie?" she asked, a knowing smile stretching across her lips. "It is," Lena said, her heart swelling with joy. "Mom, I'm embracing my dreams. No more hesitations." She glanced at Greg, who nodded in affirmation, robust in his support. Her mother beamed as if sensing a bright future unfurling before them. "That's my girl," she said, pride radiating from her. A moment later, the door creaked open wide, ushering in a nurse with a clipboard, her presence drawing everyone's attention. "Mrs. Miller, we're going to move you to recovery now. The doctor wants to check your progress." As they prepared and wheeled her mother through the doors, Lena took a deep breath, feeling like the weight of the world had finally lifted. Greg slid his hand into hers, uniting their strength as they followed, hearts fluttering with anticipation. In that hallway, Lena knew their journey was only beginning. They were ready to create their story no longer weighed down by the past, but lightened by hope, laughter, and love. Hand in hand, they walked into the future. And with it, Lena felt electric harmony buzzing beneath her skin. Their love was a beacon strong enough to weather any storm. As they stepped into the sunlight, brightness pouring over them like a warm embrace, Lena felt invincible. It was time to embrace every new chapter waiting to be written. With love guiding her, she would face the trials and joys ahead. Now is the moment to step into your powers of transformation too. Subscribe immediately to our channel, so you don't miss out on exclusive stories like this one. Leave a like now to fuel the algorithm and help us grow. Comment your thoughts and feelings about this amazing ending. You need to share your emotions. And share instantly with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Don't wait, not even one more second. Show your true support.